In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Today, we're going to embark on an exploration into the very heart of the Holy Qur'an, looking at its second and longest chapter, Surah al Baqarah. And our guide for this journey is going to be the profound historical introduction written by the great scholar Maulana Abdullah Allah Maududi. His work really helps us understand not just what the chapter says, but the incredible, world-changing context it was revealed in. So, the name of this chapter, Surah al Baqarah, literally translates from Arabic as the cow. Now, if you're new to the Qur'an, that might seem a little puzzling, right? Is this massive chapter, all 286 verses of it, really just about a cow? Well, as you can imagine, the reality is so much deeper. And this is where Maulana Maududi gives us a really crucial clarification. He explains that the names of the chapters or surahs in the Qur'an aren't like titles of a book that summarize the whole thing. They're more like unique markers or signs. So this isn't the surah about the cow, it's simply the surah in which the cow has been mentioned. It's a signpost that sets this amazing body of revelation apart. To truly get the message of Al-Baqarah, we absolutely have to understand the world-shattering event that was happening when most of it was revealed. And that event was the Hijrah, the migration of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his followers from Makkah to Medina. You see, this wasn't just a change of address, it was a fundamental shift in the very nature of the Muslim community. This slide really lays out just how dramatic that transformation was. In Makkah, the message was aimed mainly at polytheists, and it was all about establishing the core beliefs of the faith. The community, they were a small, often persecuted minority. But in Medina, everything changed. The audience was different, the focus of the message had to expand, and the status of the community itself was completely transformed as it became a new, fledgling state. So in Medina, the Muslim community found themselves speaking to a whole new primary audience, the Jewish tribes who'd been living there for centuries. They were known as the people of the book, and this is key. They already believed in the oneness of Allah, in prophets, and in divine revelation. They actually shared a common theological foundation with Islam. And this right here is a really crucial part of Maududi's analysis. The way the Quran addresses the people of the book wasn't an invitation to some new foreign religion. No, it was a call for them to come back to the pure, original faith that their own prophet, Musa, peace be upon him, had taught. It was a faith they had inherited, but over many centuries had drifted away from. Maududi explains that, over time, their original beliefs had gotten mixed up with other ideas. The divine law had become covered with layers and layers of human commentary, and that essential spirit of the faith had kind of faded, leaving just a shell of ritual behind. Their religion had become less of a universal truth for everyone and more of an exclusive birthright. So the beginning of Al-Baqarah is this powerful critique, an invitation to return to the faith's pure source. But the conversation in the Qur'an wasn't just about correcting the past. It was very much about building a brand new future. Now that a state was being established in Medina, the community needed more than just the basics of faith. They needed a complete social and legal framework. They needed, in essence, a constitution. Guidance was now needed for pretty much every part of life. How is this new society supposed to work? What are its economic principles? What are its laws? How is it governed? The revelation in Surah al Baqarah grew to answer all of these essential questions, laying the actual groundwork for a new civilization. And this just shows you the incredible scope of the surah. It gives us the foundational principles for how to interact socially, for economic justice, like the famous verses on interest, a system of law, and the basics of governance. It really was a manual for building a society from the ground up, all based on divine guidance. But this new state wasn't born into a peaceful world. Not at all. It was born into a world that seemed determined to snuff it out. The small community in Medina was facing existential threats from every single direction, both from outside forces and, pretty soon, from within. I mean, just try to put yourself in their shoes. They were exiles, they had to leave their homes and all their wealth behind in Makkah. They were poor, they were outnumbered, and they were surrounded by the rest of Arabia, which was completely hostile to them. The odds were just impossible. So how could they possibly survive, let alone succeed? And Surah al Baqarah gave them the answer. And it wasn't just spiritual comfort. It was a full-on practical strategy. It told them to preach their message with confidence, to be incredibly patient through hardship, to get ready to defend themselves from attack, and, this is so important,
to find the courage not just to survive, but to actually challenge the unjust order of their time.
And as the community started to gain some success, a new and maybe even more dangerous threat started to pop up from within. This was the element of the munafiqeen, or the hypocrites, people who claimed to be believers on the outside but were hiding disbelief or opposition in their hearts. Modudi explains that this hypocrisy wasn't just one simple thing. The surah starts to point out its early signs. You had people who joined just to cause trouble, you had opportunists who wanted to benefit from both sides, you had those who were always wavering between belief and disbelief, and then you had those who believed Islam was true but just weren't willing to make the sacrifices that were needed. So this brings us all the way back around. When you understand this incredible historical context, the move from Makkah to Medina, the dialogue with the people of the book, the birth of a nation, and all of these huge internal and external pressures, then you finally get why Surah al Baqarah is so long and so comprehensive. It had to be. It was the divinely revealed guidebook for a nation that was just beginning. It had a detailed critique of past religious communities so the Muslims could learn from their mistakes. It provided a complete blueprint for building a just society right now, and it laid out a clear strategy for facing all the challenges yet to come. And so we're left with this final thought. Knowing that Surah al Baqarah isn't just a list of rules, but the living story of a community's journey from persecution to building a civilization, how does that change the way we approach its verses today? What timeless lessons about resilience, about community, and about unwavering faith does it hold for us in our own lives?